Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow on 88.3 FM WXOU, Auburn Hills, Michigan, Oakland University, and all your wonderful station identification features. I'm your host, Giovanni Mosheri, your sports media director here at WXOU, and the GioMoShow is your home for all Oakland University sports and beyond on 88.3 FM. Don't forget to follow WXOU on our MAB award-winning social media platforms, including Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And while you're at it, you can give me a follow on all of those platforms as well. And if you missed the live show here on WXOU, then not to worry, because I have the show for you. A little secret. I'm on YouTube and Spotify. These episodes get recorded, baby, and posted later, so there's no way to miss the GioMoShow. And for today's show as well, of course, it's going to be a fantastic show this week, but we're going to be doubling down on the baseball this week. We're going to be covering, for our season review, we're going to be getting into Oakland University baseball, a season that us at WXOU and me at the GioMoShow have covered a little bit more intimately than we have at other seasons, with me covering the news on the show here, as well as calling the games live on WXOU right here. Those were a lot of fun, much different experience calling those games. So we're going to be talking about that baseball team a little bit, as well as some other baseball teams, that being the USPBL at Jimmy John's Field. We're going to be going over that last week of play. And if you're a Hoppers fan like me, and like I know you all are as well, bit of a frustrating weekend for the Hoppers. So we're going to be getting into that as well. And stick around for 6:30. Where we have our fantastic guest. This week, he is going to be the one and only CJ Round. He is it's a bit of a weird title, a bit of a fluid title, but basically he's one of the head guys that creates all the sports content for Golden Grizzlies Athletics. So he's the guy who's taking all the pictures, making all the graphics, a lot of the videos that come out, he's got a hand in them as well. So big part of what Oakland University Athletics is doing. And we're going to be talking to him on the GioMoShow, talking about his career, how he got into sports, how he got into this media world and how he's doing in it so far, what he's up to, and some of the behind the scenes stuff that you see from athletics. So I can't wait to get into that conversation with him. It was a great one to have. And he's been a big help and a big, very cooperative and helpful with us at WXOU. So I could not be more excited to have him on the show. So stick around. 6:30, CJ Round will be on the air. But before we get started, we got to talk about Bart's Pizza. Bart Basilico reinvented his father's pizzeria business by putting it on wheels. I'm talking a pizza food truck, baby. Bart and his wife Lauren travel all around Metro Detroit, cooking up homemade pies made fresh to order on their 4-layered pizza oven on wheels. You can find them on their website at eatbartspizza.com and on Facebook and Instagram as well at Bart's Pizza. His last name is literally Basil, so he knows what he is doing. And while you're at it, make sure to grab a cannoli as well, as those things are fantastic. A little sweet treat after your homemade pie. Bart's Pizza, it's too good.
It's ticket giveaway time. Have you been looking for the perfect concert to go to with your friend, but you just can't figure out which one to go to? WXOU has the solution. Might I suggest Similar Kind. Similar Kind is an indie pop group based out of Connecticut, and they are genuinely one of my favorite artists at the moment. They just have some of the best songs out there, and if you don't believe me, take a listen for yourself. So if you're at all interested in seeing Similar Kind at the Sanctuary, then be sure to go over to our Instagram page at WXOU Radio, and you'll find a promo over there where you can enter to win those tickets. Hope to see you there.
So, as mentioned before, we're going to be talking about Oakland University baseball and how the team did this past 2023 season, being the most recent one that has gotten out for Oakland, our most recent season, I guess you could say. But as we always do, we go back to the season prior, this being spring of 2022. We go back to see the backdrop and, get to know the story of this season based on what happened last season. So, last season, 2022, the Grizzlies did quite well for themselves. In the second year of Coach Jordan Banfield's reign of terror. Not terror, I'm just kidding. about second year of Coach Banfield, Grizzlies did really well for themselves. They went 31-27 on the season and 18-11 in conference. That landed them the second seed in the Horizon League tournament, meaning they got a first round bye and they didn't have to face the other teams that were in the first round. Obvious, right? So in that second round that they were waiting so patiently for, they faced Youngstown State in a game of which they beat the Penguins 2-0 to advance to the semifinals round. But there, they faced number 1 ranked Wright State. Wright State has been dominant in the Horizon League for the past many, many years, since at least I was a freshman in high school. They have been killing it in the Horizon League for baseball. In this game, they kind of proved it. In this game in the semifinals, this was Friday, May 27th of 2022 in Dayton, Ohio at Wright State. Oakland lost 3-14. It was a bad loss. That team's really good. So that sent them down to the consolation bracket, where they faced Youngstown State once again. And also once again, they beat them by 2 points. This one a little bit higher scoring. 4-2 was the final score to bring Oakland back into the championship game. Now, as the team from the consolation bracket. So I don't know if you guys are very familiar with double elimination style brackets, but you get one loss for the tournament. If you lose twice, you're out. That's thus double elimination. So when you're in the finals coming from, with a loss, then that means that you have to beat the one from winners. You have to beat them twice. You have to give them the 2 losses for double elimination. So basically game 1 in Oakland's position, they have to win to stay alive and then get to a winner-take-all match. That match did not come. A record-setting game by Wright State vaulted them over the Grizzlies for another Horizon League championship for the Raiders, 24-0. Ouch. Very tough loss for the Grizzlies, and thus sets up this past season, 2023. So in this 2023 season, Grizzlies, they kind of flipped the record. Instead of 31 wins, this time they had 31 losses. But meaning that they have a record of 29-31. And a very similar conference record as well, 18-12. Also getting them into the second seed of the Horizon League tournament. But we're going to go into this season with a little bit more detail. Now, of course, there's like 50 games in this season. I can't go over all of them like I do with some of the sports with, fewer games. So gonna be kind of glossing over them, but I'll give you the general storyline: win streaks, losing streaks, trips away and at home. I'll give you the basics. Don't worry. So they started the season. Their spring season starts all the way in mid-February. February 17th was their first game at Lamar University. Their first series, they played them 3 times. All losses, unfortunately, got swept by Lamar University. And thus, that brings them to what I believe was a neutral site against the University of Kansas. The Jayhawks played against the Grizzlies in 4 games, of which Oakland only won 1 of them, that being the last game. So their first 7 games of the season land them at a 1-6 record. A little bit tough. So now they move on to Wichita State University, where they played at their house. I believe they're the Shockers. I'm not completely sure on their mascot. But that series started with a win and then tumbled with 2 losses. So went 1-2 in that series against Wichita State, bringing them to 2-8 records. Still pretty tough to start the year. But they turn things around as they go to the University of Michigan to face the Wolverines. Last year they beat them in their house, and this year they did again. 4-1 against the Wolverines. I wanted to mention that one specifically. And then that led to another away trip to Southern Indiana against the Screaming Eagles, of which Oakland came so close to a sweep. They won the first 2 games, and then the last game, they lost by 1 point in 11 innings, thus bringing their now record to 5-9. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're stacking some wins on, and we're still not at home yet. They got their first Horizon League matchup against the Youngstown State Penguins, of which they went 2-1, and another away trip at University of Miami landed them another win, 12-9. Now they're approaching 500 here. 8-10 is their record as of March 21st of the 2023 season. And then March 25th, they travel away once again to Wright State, the team that beat them 24-0, the team that's been the king of the Horizon League. And the team that's some of the best in the Horizon League. The first game of that series, this was a turning point in this season. They're like I said, they were 8-10 at this point. They're approaching 500. They're getting themselves out of that out of conference slump, and now they're in their second Horizon League matchup. The first game they played ended in a Wright State walk-off home run. Stole the souls from the Grizzlies a little bit, and started what ended up being a pretty nasty streak of losses. So they lost 8-10. That was a close one against Wright State. Then 1-9, and then 0-13. It was something that we talked to Coach Banfield about a little bit during the season as we were starting to cover the games live. He mentioned that was just such a mental roadblock for them. That stunner of a loss from Wright State proved to be very impactful for the Grizzlies, and it took them a little bit to get over it. So after that Wright State series, they finally had their first home game. Their first home game was supposed to be earlier in that season, but thus inclement weather. Had some bad weather this season. Some bad weather delayed that plenty. They finally got their first home game March 28th against Eastern Michigan. Another loss, unfortunately. Then they host Miami of Ohio. Another loss at home against a MAC team, back-to-back, unfortunately. And now, they're 8-15. It's still a little bit tough. That's a bad win streak or a bad losing streak to go on. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game losing streak is what it ended up being. So they stay at home. Now it's March 31st. They stay at home and they face Milwaukee. And the first game was a little bit rough. 4-13 gave them a loss. And then April 1st was, if I'm not mistaken, my first live broadcast on WXOU with baseball. It was, April 1st, April Fool's Day. That weather was terrible. It was like 35 degrees. It was so windy. It was sleet and rain, and it was the rain that was light enough to where it could like blow in your face with the wind. It was just such a miserable weather game. We were sitting, me and Matt Wesolowski calling the game. We were sitting in the same positions because you can't really move too much when it's that cold. And I swear I couldn't move my knees by the end of that game. In that game, on top of all that, it was 3.5 hours. It was miserable, that game. I can't imagine them having to play through that kind of awful weather. But the offense kept moving, so maybe that kept them warm a little bit. As that one was 12-8. That was a very exciting game. And then this is the game that I wanted to talk about the entire time, selfishly. But April 2nd, there was a situation with the ESPN broadcast that caused an opening. I forget the situation, but they needed 2 guys to cover on ESPN. I got the text. The bat signal was up, and I answered the call. Me and Ben Schrader were on ESPN calling Game 3 of that series against Milwaukee. That was 1-1 at the time for April 2nd. Never been on ESPN before. I did the sideline reporting for Oakland basketball, but never like the play-by-play in color. I ended up doing color, but this was big. This was big time. And me and Ben, we were so excited for it. We got all our notes. Ben had everything printed out, and it had a lot of his notes printed out. He was ready with his pen, and he was talking to the players before the game, helped get the equipment set up. He was in the zone. I was in the zone. I had all my notes on my laptop. I had bios of all the players, and I was set to go. Game started at 1 o'clock, and at 12:55, Milwaukee is still on the field. They're practicing. It's a nice day. It's like 41 degrees, cold, but still a sunny day, much better than the game before. And it's like 5 minutes before the broadcast starts. I got my headset on. I'm just kind of, let's get in the zone here. Hey, no problem. Let's keep it cool. That's the way I prepare for this stuff. And Milwaukee's still practicing. A foul ball is hit. And I hear heads up. Boom! The foul ball went over the net, onto the table, and smashed my laptop. That laptop that I had all my notes on. That laptop that I had for 3 years and I've been using just about every day as a student. Milwaukee hit it with a foul ball. I had no reaction to it. I talked about it on my show when it happened, but I had no reaction to it. It was so jarring. It was so shocking. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I couldn't believe that it happened. I was just stunned. I sat there. I'm like, I guess we're using some of the printed notes that Ben had. I had no idea what was going on. I went freehand. I basically didn't have any notes. So thanks, Milwaukee. No, but in all seriousness, I love telling that story. I'm never gonna let Milwaukee off the hook for it. I'll forgive, but I won't forget. But that's the story, and that's just it's a freak accident, an act of God. It shows that God's got a sense of humor, and it is nobody could believe that it just happened. It was insane. But luckily for me,
okay, so we got to
Oakland
pick up the pace a little bit
after story time.
Yo, I'm Jake Masucci from Jake's Takes. I wanted to talk a little bit about my show on my guy Giovanni's own show, and I wanted to talk about a little bit about Jake's Takes. I'm a student manager at Oakland University, and I kind of just talk all things sports. I talk a lot about the NBA, talk a little college basketball. We did a lot of March Madness stuff recently. We talked about NBA playoffs, NFL playoffs, talked a lot about the NFL draft. It's basically just an all things sports show. I really think you guys would enjoy it, and shout out to my guy Giovanni. Love him. But please check out Jake's Takes. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and then it's also available on its own YouTube channel. So please check out Jake's Takes, but please continue enjoying Giovanni's show.
On the baseball field, I'm like, serves him right. No, Rochester didn't do it. I'm just kidding around here. So after that homestand, they head to Michigan State. Unfortunately, was handed to a loss by the Big Ten Spartans. And now they're 14-19. Let's pick it up here. They travel away to Northern Kentucky, 3-game series, lost all 3. 14-21 now. They are at home against 2 MAC teams, as Bowling Green and Eastern Michigan split the games, lost to the Falcons, beat the Eagles. Now 15-22. Home series against Youngstown State, swept the Penguins. And then traveled to Central Michigan. Another short story. WXOU was there at Tennyson Stadium at Kyle's Field. They got a weird name there, but they got a great baseball team. They actually have a press box, which was awesome. So me and Harsh Buttar, we got to travel to Mount Pleasant, cover the game. We had Steve Waterfield just kind of be in on the call, just because he was sitting there. He went on the bus with them. He was sitting there by himself, and I was like, hey Harsh, you want to just have Steve? You want to have Steve Waterfield, the athletic director of Oakland, just guest interview? And we're like, yeah. So we kind of call that during the game. Now we come back home to Rochester or Auburn Hills. I don't know where the line is, but we're back at the Oakland baseball field facing Wright State once again. This time we did not go winless against the Raiders. We went 1-2. We won a single game. I did PA for one of those games because our wonderful PA announcer Kevin Beers couldn't make it in time for the game, and I had to fill in for the first one of the doubleheader. Dude, PA is so much fun. I love doing that, and especially because Wright State, they got easy names. They got very Americano names, so that made it very easy for a first-time PA announcer. And like I was like you'll hear with our interview with CJ Round coming up at 6:30. Golden Grizzlies Athletics, they're great people. They're great to work with. They're very, patient and helpful, and a lot of fun to hang out with. So they're very helpful for a first person doing PA for the first time. I loved it. So anyway, the Wright State series at home, they got a single game off of them. Then soon after May, now we're in May, by the way. We have entered May. Pardon Pardon the computer here. Anyway, so now we're in May, and we face the Bowling Green Falcons, who I also did PA for because the game was scheduled to be in Bowling Green. Bad weather brought it back to Oakland, and they didn't plan for that, so I got the bat signal again to call PA for that one. Also fun. You know, actually, in that game, there was some situation with the there's some situation with the batting lineup for Bowling Green to where Coach Banfield said, "Don't read those names." so when I was doing PA and I was introduced to the starting lineup, I just didn't read Bowling Green's. I'm like, "You got it, Coach. Whatever you say." No, we were confused as to why. Maybe they changed something and they didn't tell Banfield about it. But hey, less names for me to read, so I was fine with it. But anyway, unfortunately, they lost 2-12 in that game. But I had fun. That's all that matters, right? So now we're at May 5th. Grizzlies are 19-26, and they're away at Milwaukee. And again, very close to a sweep. I say again because this happened, I think, at Southern Indiana. Very close to a sweep. First game against, my now arch rival Panthers. First game went to 10 innings. Oakland lost by 1 point. Then they won the next two. So, way to go, guys. And then they also faced Toledo at home. And got a win off of them, a close one, 4-3. And we got an interview on WXOU's YouTube channel with Harja Buttar interviewing Gabe Lux. I think it was Gabe Lux. You can check out that interview on YouTube. It's only like a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. Or excuse me, it's Gavin Smilowski interviewing Gabe Lux. So go check that out on WXOU's YouTube channel. So now we're in the home stretch here. Oakland travels to Purdue Fort Wayne for another sweep of the Mastodons, another 3 wins. They travel to Eastern Michigan. WXOU also traveled there. Me and Matt Wasilowski, we went to, I forgot what it was called. Strike Stadium, that's what it was called. Strike Stadium. That had a cool setup. I got some pictures posted on my Instagram from it. It was a cool game. Oakland had the lead, but man, Eastern Michigan just opened it up at the end of the game. 8-17 was the final score, but it was cool. It was cool calling that game in Ypsilanti. So now they are 26-27. They're close to 500, and it comes down to this last series in Horizon League play at home against Northern Kentucky. That game, or that series, winner of it, all they need is 2 wins. They get the second seed in the Horizon League tournament. If you remember earlier in the show, I mentioned second seed as well as the first seed. They get a first round bye. Both these teams were playing for that first round bye. That's very important because, as Neil Rule says, or said to me when I was doing one of the games with him, you can't lose in a bye week. You could try, but you won't. So it was very important. Oakland, they were tied in the series. It was very close in the second game. A last stretch by Oakland to make the comeback was not enough. They lost 9-11 to Northern Kentucky in Game 2. Now making that last game of the season at home, winner take all for the second seed. And Oakland did it, baby. 8-6 to get the second seed in the Horizon League tournament and to get another shot at the Horizon League crown. So now I'll take you through the tournament. In the tournament, who do they face in the second round? Well, they faced Northern Kentucky again, of which I was very nervous because Northern Kentucky did very well in the series against Oakland. They had all Horizon League athletes all over the place on that team. So I was very nervous, but we served them 13-8, advanced to the semifinals. Same thing as last year. We faced Wright State in the semifinals. But what wasn't the same as last year is we beat Wright State in the, let's say, the winners semifinals, 6-5 in 10 innings. We got extra innings on that one to send us to the championship game. Clean slate, no losses. And who do we face? Wright State, of course. But we had a shot at this one. All Oakland needed was 1 win. As I explained before, if it's double elimination, so you get 1 loss in the tournament before you're knocked out, or you get 2 losses in the tournament before you get knocked out. Oakland only needed 1 win to eliminate Wright State. That Game 1, it was so close. I was watching it at home on ESPN. I watched the cast of it. It was that was exciting baseball to watch. Those like college conference championships are so much fun to watch. And it looks like we're not going to have a lot of time for USPBL. I'll tell you what, if you want your USPBL fix for this week, you can check out my YouTube and Spotify. You can get a bonus episode about the USPBL as we're running out of time here on WXOU. We got to finish up the Horizon League tournament, and I'll send it to a break, and then we'll get to CJ Round as our guest interview from Oakland Athletics. So, we got the championship game in the Horizon League tournament against Wright State in Dayton, Ohio again. I guess they host all the time. It was such a close game. Oakland had the lead, but then Wright State started to make a comeback. A pitching change proved to be what Wright State needed to get back in this game, and Oakland was just able to fight them off, but not until the very end. Wright State was able to get the one run. It was a single-shot home run, I think. It was a single-shot home run to send the score to 9-8. Wright State lead, and that's where the game ended. Wright State got their win to make a winner-take-all in the championship game of the Horizon League. Unfortunately, this one was very similar to last year's finish for the Golden Grizzlies. They got shut out in Dayton, Ohio, by the first seed Wright State Raiders. Not 24-0, but 14-0. They got 7 runs in one inning. I think either the second or the third. And then they got their 6 or 7 in the inning after. I didn't watch much of that one. I saw the score. I was like, man, it's just Oakland just did not have any gas left in the tank for a second game like that. It was brutal. It was such a gut punch watching it. I was like really into it too. But it just wasn't meant to be for the Golden Grizzlies this year in 2023. For baseball, Wright State reigns supreme. The Raiders hoisted the trophy once again. It proved to be a difference of pitching in that first game for Oakland. But you take advantage of what's in front of you, and that's what Wright State did to win the Horizon League. And that is going to be your Oakland University season summary of baseball. Once again, if you want your USPBL fix, YouTube, the GioMoShow will have a bonus episode for USPBL baseball. I'm going to cover my heartbreak with the Hoppers this week, as well as the rest of the league as well. But I'll give you the standings right now. So far, the standings as of Wednesday night, this being June 28th. I spoiled it. I'm pre-recording this one. Gotcha. So, as of today, Utica Unicorns, they still are on top, 9-6. Eastside Diamond Hoppers are in second place, game and a half behind the Unicorns, that being in the East Division. West Division, you got the Westside Woolly Mammoths at 500, 9-9. And you got the reigning champ, Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, at 7-10. Both teams in their respective divisions are a game and a half behind the one in front of them. And, dude, I want my Hoppers back in number 1. Can we please just take care of business against the Unicorns? There was a sudden death game on last Thursday, the 22nd. It was when as soon as I got out of the studio, they started playing, and my God, it was in sudden death. It was a heartbreaker, so I'll spoil that one for you, but you can hear more about it on YouTube and Spotify. Just Google the GioMo Show. So that's going to wrap it up for at least this segment of the GioMo Show. My name is Giovanni Mosheri, Sports Media Director here at WXOU, and coming up next, we're going to have our interview with CJ Round. He is one of the lead graphic designers, photographers, videographers, creative mind at Golden Grizzlies Athletics. So we're going to get to talk to him about his experience in sports, in covering sports, what goes into photography and graphic design, and how much he covers certain players and stuff. We get to all the behind-the-scenes action with CJ Round. Coming up on the GioMo Show.